When I joined the family business, I discovered that everything was operating along the themes of tradition, idyllic countryside, and keeping appearances up. What are the fundamental truths? And I'll tell you. Hi, it's Johannes. Good to see you again. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. In this video, we'll dive into what first principle thinking is, and I'll share my personal experience implementing this mindset while taking over my family business. How I came up with the fundamental truths and what they are, how I used these fundamental truths as a lighthouse to find a way forward, and how I was able to measure the progress using facts and figures. It's my goal that this can be an inspiration to you, whether you're working for a family business or maybe in a small business. This is highly relevant. There will be a lot more content coming in the next couple of weeks, so make sure you subscribe to my channel to be the first to know and not to miss any of the updates. Also, if you'd like to give this video a thumbs up, this will greatly help the algorithm. With the couple of subscribers that I have, it's highly likely that I can still break the algorithm by having more likes than subscribers, so thank you very much for that. You can skip right to the section that interests you most by clicking the timestamps in the description below or by looking along the bar. So before we get into my personal experience applying first principle thinking to my family business, what is first principle thinking? First principle thinking is reducing a problem to its fundamental truths and coming up with the solutions from the ground up. Asking questions is the basis for changing anything and creating something new. And if you get as a response, "Oh, we've always done it this way," then you're probably onto something. A good follow-up for that would be, why has it always been this way? And is there any way it can be done differently? The goal is to push for simplification. This can be done on any level, whether you're talking to blue-collar workers or in the boardroom, asking what is the right way of doing something instead of going along with common beliefs. How can first principle thinking be implemented in family businesses? Let me summarize that for you before we get into each individual point. First, let's strip it down to basics. What are the fundamental truths? And I get into the fundamental truths that I came up with for my own business in a second. Secondly, you can use these fundamental truths as a lighthouse for learning every little detail about the business. Third step, quantify everything. Look for measurable evidence of your success. And then fourth step, reverse engineer a step-by-step plan to get to your ideal outcome. Especially as a next gen, stepping into any role in a family business, this can be seen with the stereotype of being arrogant or being entitled. And I mean, you may have been educated abroad, in my case, and now you're coming back home and people may think that you think you know everything better. And that's a danger. This kind of attitude will be met with resistance. I mean, who are we kidding? If we were in a similar position as the employees, we would possibly or probably react in a similar way. Who is this young kid trying to teach us? What I tried to do was to find a compromise, if you will. A compromise between asking questions out of a true place of true curiosity, and at the same time making everyone think, why is this the way we're doing it? First principle thinking often means asking questions that are uncomfortable and break the civility of general conversation. So let's get into my personal experience. What helped me when I took over was that I had no prior experience in any of the industries that we were operating in. And this can be seen as a disadvantage, but I would say it was an advantage because I could look at everything with a fresh set of eyes. One of the key things in getting started with first principle thinking is to borrow from other industries. And with my background in finance, I was very familiar with the concepts of risk and portfolio management, so the instabilities in the company mix quickly became apparent to me. When I joined the family business, I discovered that everything was operating along the themes of tradition, idyllic countryside, and keeping appearances up. So what did I do when I joined this beautiful countryside gem? I took a step back and I asked myself, what are the fundamental truths? And I'll tell you. The first one was that for the group to be profitable in the long run, all the individual companies would have to be profitable in the long run. The second one, and I had to hone in on this, was the point that large turnover do not mean large profits. And the third one was that financial health depends on effective cost management, revenue growth, and efficient cash flow. By having immense focus on these points that I believe are fundamentally true, I was able to block out the noise. The first type of noise is internal. It's always been that way, kind of a resistance. But the second type of noise that I had to block out was the external noise, and everyone is great at giving advice. I mean, you see this during the World Cup or the Euros, where in Germany all of a sudden you have 80 million people who think they could do a better job than the national coach. It's just natural. And if you meet a lot of people like I have, and I like to listen to everyone, it's great to have many opinions. At the end of the day, I'm responsible for getting the best outcome for my family. Building a theme park or producing your own lettuce is not necessarily a feasible idea. And these great ideas, if they're not compatible with your fundamental truths, it's very easy to then block them out. So using analogies from other industries, I realized that the struggles that we were having were not unique, but how could I put my finger on it? This is when the next step came in. I relentlessly pushed for more transparency in the numbers. The old bookkeeping software was diligently fed by our accounting department with all the numbers you could think of. There was a lot of data there, but there was no way of properly reading that data. It would take often hours to put together a report on the up-to-date P&L. Or if I wanted a month-by-month comparison of a particular profit center, then that would take ages to do. By introducing Tableau, a software that I can highly recommend, and connecting the old data to the new software, it could just pump out these reports on a mouse click. Suddenly I had a grip of what was actually going on. Of course, that sounds easy, but it was a big effort, and I couldn't have done it without my CFO, who implemented and programmed these changes. But from having the numbers in such an accessible way, I could then reverse engineer the ideal setup and ask, what is the ideal setup for these fundamental truths to be adhered to? What steps do we need to take to get to that ideal setup? That's when I came up with my detailed plan of what to do in the restructuring process. And after iterating my thoughts and ideas a little bit, discussing it with my mentors, I knew I was on my way. Of course, this is not the end of it. This was just the story of how I got started. You always need to iterate and keep doing this first principle thinking approach. And by constantly pushing for transparency, pushing for that change, that's when this idea and this mindset can really help you, especially in a family business environment where there's a lot of crust and a lot of old dust. To wrap up, first principle thinking is a powerful tool that can transform the way you approach problems in a family business. Thank you for watching, and if you found this video helpful, make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. As I said, I will be sharing a lot more details about my journey in my own family business and go into a lot more detail than I was able to in this video. So make sure you keep watching, and best way to do it is to subscribe.